closet door. I'm here in my studio, aka Board Game Closet. I love this song. I'm worried we use it too much, but it's still a good song. Anyways, before diving into today's nugget of civics, I wanted to thank those of you who have donated to keep this bird in the air. We simply can't make the show without that tried and true public radio standby, listener donations. If you listen to the show and can support it, just go to civics101podcast.org and click donate, or just click the link in our show notes to give a gift in any amount. $5 a month as a sustaining member, it gets you a swanky new Civics 101 face mask. But whatever amount you can give, please know we are going to keep asking people smarter than us to answer your questions about how our country works. Thank you. Thank you. All right, here's the show.
Civics 101 is supported in part by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
I don't really need to sit down because it's right here. It feels a little formal.
That was President Barack Obama doing what he did 276 times in his administration, signing an executive order. And you'll note he's left-handed.
Why does that matter?
Well, it's just harder for us lefties to write. Anyways, this is Civics 101. I'm Nick Capodice.
I'm Hannah McCarthy.
And today we're answering this listener question. What are presidential executive orders, and how do they work in relation to Congress making laws?
Wait, first, what is up with all the pens?
I have to do this so that everybody gets a pen. I don't mean everybody in the audience. I mean...
Franklin Delano Roosevelt was the first to use multiple pens at a signing ceremony, and the tradition just continued. It's a way to give a souvenir to people deeply involved with a bill or an executive order.
All right, let's start with what an executive order actually is.
An executive order is a directive or an order that the president issues to people who work in the executive branch.
This is Casey Dominguez. She's a professor of political science at the University of San Diego.
And the executive order requires those employees to take or stop taking an action, or to change a policy, or to change a management practice, or to accept some kind of delegation of authority.
And when Casey says people who work in the executive branch, remember, that is over 4 million Americans. Executive orders don't go through Congress. They're not voted on. They're purely a presidential power, and they just happen.
I want some examples of executive orders. Is there like a list of greatest hits?
Oh, yeah. Maybe the most famous is the Emancipation Proclamation. President Lincoln proclaimed that all enslaved persons in Confederate states only shall henceforth be free. Then we got FDR, 1933. He wrote one that created the Works Progress Administration. Then, FDR again, in response to the bombing of Pearl Harbor in 1941, he wrote one that gave the military power, which resulted in 120,000 Americans being put in internment camps. However, most executive orders are not this famous.
How common are they? And who was the first president to issue one?
No, executive orders go all the way back to the Washington administration. For a long time in history, executive orders were informal. That is, presidents would issue them. They weren't even necessarily cataloged. They weren't numbered. And then in the mid-20th century, Congress decided that these were important actions and that they needed to be numbered and made official, and that they were part of official policy. And since then, they've had to be numbered and published in the Federal Register.
And now every executive order is published in the Federal Register?
Yes, but Casey told me that presidents can get around this by issuing orders via another name, like proclamations, memoranda, or national security directives.
Since they don't go through Congress, are there any checks on executive orders?
There are.
They don't have the status of law that's been passed by Congress, and so they can be overturned by Congress, they can be overturned by the courts, and they can also be overturned by the next president. We often see, particularly when the presidency changes parties, we see executive orders that were issued by one president being more or less immediately reversed by the next president.
So courts can deem them unconstitutional, and Congress can pass bills that override them. But those processes take time, whereas the executive order is effective immediately.
Executive orders seem quite powerful, even though they're checked by other branches. Is there a chance that any president would try to lessen the power of executive orders?
Well, the incentive is never for the president to do that. It would be up to Congress to try to limit lawmaking through executive order. Whoever has the presidency, they and their party want the president to be able to take actions to go around Congress. And I'm not sure that we should all want that to be happening because Congress is the more representative body of the public. But the incentive, particularly if the other party controls Congress, that's going to be something that the president's going to be sorely tempted to do and use.
That's Executive Orders here on Civics 101. If you have any queries, just visit our site, civics101podcast.org, and click Ask a Question.
From PRX.